And now it's time for Questions from Miss Severi that are part of her final, a presentation by Imana Holden. You can leave home all you want, but home will never leave you. Essay response. I believe that the quote is extremely true. I believe that home is more of a mental place rather than a physical one. If you were brought up a certain way or you have certain customs, then you are more likely to take that way of thinking or way of life when you grow up rather than someone else's or adapting to someone else's way or point of view. To explain the quote a little bit more or go into more detail, I would like to use Toni Morrison's Beloved, for example. In the novel Beloved, Sweet Home was the name of the place or the home that Setha, Paul Baby Suggs, and other characters had grew up in. Keep in mind that it is a slave state. That means they experienced hangings, loved ones taken away, so on and so forth. So after they escaped from slavery, they thought they had all this freedom and everything that they could do. They just thought was freedom. They didn't have a slave owner on their back or telling them what to do. However, they did not know what to do with all that freedom. In fact, there was a quote in the book that Baby Suggs was saying, Baby Suggs was saying in the book, how you gave me freedom, you let me be free, but how are you gonna teach a dog old tricks? And it just went back to, is freedom really free, or is it something that's given, or is it a state of mind? In Setha's case, she tried to kill her 2 sons and killed her daughter, Beloved, in order for her children not to return to slavery or to Sweet Home. Because of this, she was arrested and she came back home, and her baby's ghost, Beloved, was haunting the house. I believe that Beloved represented Setha's past or her guilt of killing her baby, and she never forgot it. She never really left home in her mind. She was still enslaved by herself. And so her version of home and any of the characters' version of home illuminates Toni Morrison's idea of freedom. Again, is it something that is given and placed in front of you, or is it something that you make of it? I believe, once again, that it is something that freedom is something that you make of yourself. Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you your freedom. It is something that you place for yourself. Nobody sets any limits for you. So if you believe that you are free, then you are free. There is nothing stopping you from your freedom. And everybody's freedom is different. So it's not to say, oh, this is a certain freedom. Freedom should be a certain way. You should be able to say that my freedom is my freedom, and it's as diverse as me. So I believe that Toni Morrison's idea of freedom was placed clearly or explained clearly through her novel. It was a very strong, powerful piece, and it made me think about how much do you pay for your freedom, and how much do you cherish and value your freedom, or does your freedom belong to someone else? It is because of Toni Morrison I have a different perspective on freedom. It's difficult to say exactly how I grew as a learner. I have learned as much in one semester than I have since freshman year. Therefore, I would say I grew overall. Everything from this year that I've learned, I applied to my other courses, and that helped me grow exponentially. This is lifetime learning that I'm receiving, and I'm grateful for it. The most important idea that we expressed in class, in my opinion, is the question, is your freedom really free? Or has society shaped us to become something else? Things such as college is a barrier to life. There is always a price for your freedom in order to stay competitive in a selfish world. The reason why I say that this is a very important argument or idea is that it is already proven. In class, we discussed several unwritten histories or theories, such as how we can spot poverty and the second Holocaust of African Americans. It's weird how we don't learn these things in school. We only learn so much that is placed in textbooks or the standard that is set by the state. By the time we graduate, we think we may be top of our class, but in actuality, we are not eligible to compete in corporate society. In other words, it is almost designed for the minority to fail. We can easily look into our world and see prejudice and how it affects the minority today. I feel that those who do not necessarily agree with me are unaware. Me, for example, I was very closed in my thinking at first before I got into Miss Severi's class. I used to believe that everything was fair and that everything in life would be given to you if you work that minimum amount towards everything. But because of course, Miss Severi's class, I have learned the opposite to be true. If you are not cognizant of your surroundings, you will not see the gate that society has set for the minority. In the world, you can clearly see the barriers that corporate society has set for us. Grown as an overall learner, I can now say that the skills that I have obtained this year or in this semester, I can now take towards my goals, my future careers, and my future life. I can now say that I learned something that's going to make me better, and it gives me motivation to keep going because I know what I'm up against and I know what is expected of me and what I should expect from myself. I now have a different perspective on life because of Miss Severi's class, and I'm really grateful for that. And I know that I can break the chain that society or the norm that society has placed upon my minority, and that I can make a change and I can make a difference in that. Well, that's it for now. Until next time, class. Thanks for watching. And remember, always have love, peace, and happiness. Goodbye.